Hello, everyone, and welcome back. Thank you for taking your time to tune in another webinar session for 2022. My name is Chris Bai, and I'll be the host of today's webinar. Unfortunately, Grace has been sick and in the midst of everything, also lost her voice. But she is still joining us tonight to help. We're up to our third episode, where this episode will go through how the media and the Illuminant using the photography workflow will be introduced. The additive and subtractive color mixing theory will also be introduced, so viewers like yourself will have a better understanding of the limitations on color management. We will also recommend a workflow for reproducing consistent colors across different media and present how does ICC profile work in the workflow. Finally, the webinar will end with a hands-on demonstration on how to calibrate your monitor for soft-proofing. But from past experience, the hands-on experience will be replaced by PowerPoint presentation because there are so many factors for technical difficulties. The color just won't show up right. So I will use photographs to show up the color outputs, okay? As per our previous webinars, feel free to ask any questions throughout the session, but we'll get back to you at the end of during Q&A session. Please type your question in the Q&A areas instead of the chat, so we are able to get through your question more efficiently. There will also be a quick survey once the webinar finishes. If you could please provide some of your feedback, that will be greatly appreciated and will help us for the future webinars. Grace will also include the previous recording of episode 1 and 2 in the chat box for you to check out. And I would also like to mention that there are some interesting color management articles for you to check, and Grace will also post a link to that in the chat box. All right, so without further ado, let's get started. All right, let's take a look at this, my share screen here. All right, so today we're looking at how to reproduce consistent colors across different media. You know, we know color management is not only on the monitor itself, but we'll deal with a lot of different media, for example, like printing, okay? So let us take a look. What kind of media we'll use in the photography, okay? For example, when we can actually capture an image, right? What will we use, okay? Of course, we'll use a camera, right? And the camera, what kind of colors will be used in the camera? Definitely will be RGB colors, right? Okay, and then what happens when we actually capture a photograph, right? We'll do enhancement, right? And what would that happen? That will happen on our monitor, right? And how does the monitor reproduce color? We'll use RGB colors to reproduce an image on the monitor, right? And for some of you will like to print out an image, right? That's called reproduction, and using a printer to print out an image which you like, right? But the printer, how does a printer reproduce a color? It's using CMYK to reproduce an image from your printer, okay? So this is a completely different colors we're looking at, okay? Sorry, the chat, I moved the chat box away, okay. All right. So let us take a look, how does human perceive color? So color is a visual perceptual property and is derived from the spectrum of light, okay? Because color can be produced from reflective media or self-stimulus systems. There are two different ways of producing colors, okay? The first one is reflective colors. What do we need? Is an object, a light source, and a visual system to be seen and recognized. What does that mean? For example, look at your desk, right? In order to see the color of your desk, you need a light source to shine on your desk. So the desk will reflect the color of the desk into your eyes, so you can see the color of the desk, right? And this example on the screen here, right? The orange will be seen by the eyes by reflecting the color of the, right, reflecting the light from the orange color, right? So you'll see orange color from the orange itself, right? So you definitely need an object, a light source, and your visual system to see the color, okay? But self-stimulus color, okay, you only need a light source and a visual system to be seen and recognized. What does that mean? When you see the light source, for example, a sunlight, okay, or a lamp, right? It doesn't need an object. It just needs the light itself be recognized as a bright light. And for example, a display, no matter it's a monitor or a cell phone or mobile phone, okay, it only needs the light source itself. For example, the display will display image, right? So you look at the display, look at the mobile phone, you will see the image by only looking at it. It doesn't need an object. Okay, so this is called self-stimulus color. Okay, so these are two very different types of color mixing methods. Okay, so there are two different types. So first type is we call RGB additive color system. Okay, so most we call electronic devices. Okay, for example, like displays or projectors. Okay, these kind of system or devices are using the additive color system. We use red, green, and blue lights to mix colors. Okay, so the colors are added together to mix a white light. That means the white light is mixed from red, green, and blue lights. Okay, so so that's why we call it additive. The colors are added together to make a white. Okay. Okay. So what happens if there's no light, right? If we turn off the lights, right, that becomes black, right? So in this system, in additive color system, the black is no light. Okay. So the black and white is very simple. It's no light, that's black. And if all the lights are turned on, all the RGB lights are turned on, then that's a white light. Okay, that's simple. Okay, how about subtractive color system? Subtractive color system is a little bit tricky. We need to think of this way. Okay, the primary color we use for subtractive color system are cyan, magenta, and yellow. Okay, think of this. Why we call subtractive system is because the color are absorbed, okay, from the primary colors. Okay, for example, when we look at this magenta color, okay, magenta color is very similar to red, so I will use terminology red to think of this in this way. Okay, when we have a white light shining on a magenta color, okay, a magenta colorant, okay, that means white light we know is kind of mixture of red, green, and blue, right? So in order for a magenta colorant to be shown, all the green and the blue component of the white light are absorbed by the magenta colorant. So only the red component are reflected out of this magenta colorant. So we see the magenta color. Okay, so that is kind of like we subtract the green and blue component from the white light. So this is called a subtractive color system. So what does the subtract mean? It means that it is absorbed. The absorb means the colorant locks these kind of light, the green and blue light, inside the colorant. So the light doesn't escape from the colorants. Okay, it stays inside the colorant. Okay, so the same thing happens to the cyan and the yellow. Okay, so in this system, what is the black? Okay, so usually the black is we mix every color together. That makes black. But from our past experience, right, if we make all the colorants together, if we mix all the colorants together, does it become black? No. All right. Think of it from your like kindergarten or like your elementary school. Like when you're very young, you play with all the colorants together. You don't make black from all the color you mix together. You make a very dirty gray or like a brownish color, right? Okay, that is because in order to have black, that means all the light has to be locked inside the colorant. Okay, so that means the colorant itself has to be aligned perfectly, so there's no light to escape from the colorant. If there is some light escape from the colorant, then that color will become gray or some kind of brownish color. Okay, so because all the colorants we mix together, it's not perfect. So there will always be some light escaping from the colorants. So all we see is a grayish color or brownish color. Okay. So that's why we need to add another K. K stands for black, okay, to this system in order to produce a deep, dark, rich black. Okay. And there's another reason for this, adding a K inside the system here, because what we printed the most color in this system here is the black color. Think of this. When you print out a book, what color you use the most? It's the black color, right? So we need an efficient, cost-effective colorant to produce black, right? That's why we need to add another K, another black colorant here. So the subtractive color system, there are 4 primary colors. That's cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. Okay. So what is the white in this color system? The white is the paper white. Okay. So because there is no color applied on the paper. Okay. So the paper white is the white in this coloring system. Okay. So in this color management idea, okay, in this ecosystem here, monitor belongs to the RGB additive color system, but the printing belongs to the subtractive color system. So the underneath color mixing theories are very, very different. It is exactly the opposite. Okay, so we can't expect that the monitor and the printing, the result of this color mixing can have 100% matching. Okay, the best we can do nowadays is at the best is like 80%, 85% to 90% match. Okay, so this is the state of art technology that we can get right now, because there are some colors, no matter how good the device are, there is no way to match. For example, like the cyan color. In the printing, cyan can be very deep and rich, but on the monitor itself, cyan will always be light. Okay, there's no way to be really, really deep. Okay, so bear in mind, there's no way to be 100% match for this color management, but we can go very good at 90%. Okay. Okay, so today we're going to take a look at Illuminant and the CRI, color rendering index, because these are really important to the subtractive color system. Okay, so Illuminant, okay, we see Illuminant all day long, but we just don't recognize it. For example, in outdoor lighting, okay, sun, okay, daylight is the most important illuminant for human, because we look at daylight all day and we use it as our primary light source. Okay, but the daylight changes a lot. The color temperature changes a lot from the midday 12 o'clock. Okay, it's like coolish. Okay, it's bluish. It's like 7,000 K. But in like 6 p.m., okay, sunset is like 3,000 K. So it changes a lot during the day. Okay, so it's not consistent. Okay, that's I need to mention. The luminance is not consistent, and but our eyes are adaptive, so we are kind of like our vision system also changes a lot. Okay, and indoor lighting is also changed. Will also have different varieties of the luminance as well. For example, halogen bulbs, okay, will produce a warmish feeling for the home, for the household. Okay, but the cool white LEDs will always have a bright, awaking feeling for the house. Okay, so there are different color temperatures for setting the mood of for your home, and different people have different preference. Okay, so there's no standards in here. So as a lighting industry, there are many different color temperatures to choose from for the light bulbs, right? Okay, so you can have from warm color temperature to neutral, to cool to cold. Okay, these are non-standardized illuminants. Okay, but there are standardized illuminants. That's what we call D65 and D50. You might heard of them before, but I'm going to explain it in more details here. Okay. D65 and D50 are standard illuminants defined by CIE. Okay, D stands for daylight. 65, for example, stands for 65,000 K, 6,500 K, sorry. Okay, and D65, there is a definition, okay. It is the average of noontime sunlight over an year at Greenwich. That is very specific, okay, because somebody did a measurement for every day, and at noontime, when every day there is a sunlight, and he did a measurement over a year. Every day there's a sunlight. It took a meter out and measured that, okay, in spectral data. Okay, so D65 is very, very closely matched to the sunlight in spectral. Okay. So the color rendering capability is the best because we say the sunlight has the best color rendering capability. So the definition of CRI for D65 is 100. Okay. So this is D65 in spectral data. And D50 is a mixture of the indoor and outdoor lighting. Okay. So the graphics are, because our image, right, or the artwork will sometimes be viewing indoors in the mixture of indoor and outdoor lighting. So we need a light source which can combine of these two together. Okay, so so this is CIE defined this D50 as a mixture of these two lighting together. So we can see there is in the red part there is a big energy in the D50. So D50 is more warm than the D65. Okay, so it's more like 5,000 K. Okay, and this is the standard illuminant in the graphics art industry. Okay, so let's talk about CRI. What is CRI? CRI is the color rendering index. Okay, so it is intended to be a fidelity metrics to compare test illuminant to a reference illuminant using 8 test colors. That was the first initial definition, using 8 test colors. Okay, so this is the 8 less saturated color was initially defined. Okay, this is defined for CRI-RA. Okay, but now the new definition has 14 colors. So they added another 6 more saturated color. Okay, to this CRI fidelity metrics. Okay, so it ranged. The CRI ranges from 0 to 100. So 100 indicates all colors match exactly. Okay. Okay. But the CRI number doesn't mean the same color appearance. That means even though they have the same CRI values, it doesn't mean they look the same. Okay. So the colors will look different under different correlated color temperature, CCT, okay? Here's our, we show some example. They are having the same CRIs, but if it has different color temperature, they will look different, okay? So how can we assess your lighting using CRI numbers? Okay, definitely we need a spectral photometer because we need to measure the spectral color, spectral data. Okay, so you definitely need a spectral photometer. Okay, so the most commonly used will probably be i1 Pro 2 or i1 Pro 3 from X-Rite. And definitely you need to calculate the data. Okay, and Fogra, okay, is a Germany like a printing institution, okay, research institution. They provide instructions how to gather the spectral data from i1 Profiler using i1 Pro 2, okay. So, and they also provide an Excel spreadsheet to calculate the CRI. So if you follow this link here, you'll get to this web page. And here you can see there are 2 files you can download. Okay, first is the Excel sheet to calculate the CRI number. And second here, the 4th files is the instructions on how to get the values out of the i1 Pro 2 or i1 Pro 3 nowadays. Okay, so using the i1 Profiler software. Okay, because there's a little trick to go from the because i1 Profiler doesn't provide the values directly to the end user. You have to, there's a workaround to go over there. Okay, so this is the workaround. So you can get this as long as you have that instrument. And i1 Profiler you can download for free to use it. So this is the free, less expensive way to assess your CRI. Okay, this is one way to do it. Another way is use Babel Colors as CT&A software, because this is a built-in function in the CT&A software. You can use that capability to determine CRI, but you need to purchase this Babel Color from Babel Color software. Okay, so but if your job or however you're required to constantly determine CRI, I think this is a good investment, because this piece of software is really good at determining color measurement, or CRI determination is only a part of this software. There's a lot going on this part of this software. So if you are really interested in color measurement or something, I think Babel Color is the CT&A software is really a good investment. Okay, so in this software, it will actually measure the spectral of your light source. Okay, and then it'll show you what's the difference between the 14 colored samples for this CRI. Okay, and it will tell you the CRI number. Okay, and also in different grading, in different numbers. Okay, so this is an example of my viewing booth. Okay, so it's in the very, very good grade of the CRI. Okay, it's a 96. It's really good grade. Okay, and later on, I'm going to tell you why we should use a viewing booth instead of your household lighting. It's because of the CRI value. Okay. All right, but there is a limitation of the RA value we're looking at before, because it was like the 8 colors we're looking at, it's we call it pastel colors, because they are less saturated and they're not looking at the saturated colors. So that's a limitation. And because of that, it does not correspond to the exact color appearance nowadays, because nowadays our devices are in more wide color gamut, because and so saturated color are not considered. Okay, and next point is does not work well for very narrow band light source. For example, RGB LED for some for some monitors are nowadays RGB LED, or some projectors that are laser light source. They're not applied to the CRI evaluation. Okay, so for probably some lighting, they are like RGB LED. They don't apply to CRI calculations, okay? And we can see the limitation of RA, okay, in this example here, because these two photographs here, the light source itself, they are all calculated to be RA as 82, okay? These are all 82. But when you look at the quality of the light or the color appearance of these two photographs are very, very different, okay? You can see this is for LED light source. This is for CFL, compact fluorescent light, okay? For the LED, you can see very, very bright light, but it's a spotlight, okay? For the CFL, it's like a floodlight, but it's less bright, okay? And for them, you can see some of the colors are high in the CRI values, but some of them are not, okay? This particular R3 for the CFL is low, okay? So these two, even though they have the same RA, the color temperature are not the same, and they don't have the correspond color appearance, okay? So that's why they introduced another 6th color, okay? And one very special color is the R9, which is the red, okay? Because red is extremely important for skin tone, okay? And LED light source usually, okay, early stage of the LED light source, especially for the white LED, they don't have a good rendering capability in saturated red, okay? So sometimes when we are in early stage of the LED lighting, they calculate that the R9 is less than 0 or equally to 0, okay, which is not good, okay? So the evaluation of R9 is, if you're larger than 0 is okay. If it's larger than 50, it's very good. It's larger than 75, is excellent, okay? So this is a special index that we need to pay attention to, okay? So the reason why we should use a viewing booth is, this is reason, the R9, okay? So the CRI of the viewing booth is 93, which is very good, okay? But CRI of the household lighting, okay, which is I measured from the CTA software, okay, this is a white LED, okay? Most of the household lighting are made of white LEDs, okay? The RA gives us 85, which is okay, it's not that bad, but the R9 gives us 29, okay, which is not really good, because when we look at our skin under the household lighting, you will see like really kind of like a yellowish skin tone, not really lifelike skin tone. This is the reason, because LED lighting usually gives you that appearance, okay? So, and this R9 will be a good indication, okay? But a viewing booth will give you a good color rendition of this, your skin tone especially, okay? All right, so let me talk about the workflow of reproducing consistent colors, okay? Why we need, how we can achieve it, okay? So the color management workflow, we can actually break down into 3 stages. The first stage is color creation or acquisition, okay? So basically, you capture from camera or scan an image from a scanner, okay? And the second stage will be image processing or enhancement, okay? Basically, you will need a monitor to do the enhancement job, okay? And the third stage is the image reproduction, okay? So basically, if you post your image on Facebook, Instagram, or any social medias, this is kind of like a reproduction as well. But another kind of reproduction is we call it a printing, okay? Either you print it from your household printer, or you send it out for print, like a large production print, or the image you see from a magazine or any publications. These are all kind of, we call it image reproduction, okay? So the most important device, I called it, in this color management workflow, I think, is the monitor. Okay, it's because we all, right now, the files are all electronically created, right, and viewed and modified, edited. So anything we do on the monitor, it's being feedback. Anything we do on the file is being feedback back to the monitor, and we look at the monitor itself. So if we do anything wrong, okay, then the files are being recorded wrong. Okay, so the monitor has a great responsibility to deliver the accurate color to the viewers. Okay, so the image creation. Okay, so basically a designer or like illustrator, CG animator. Okay, what he or she does is actually he or she has a vision in mind. Okay, Okay, so using a software to create it on the monitor. Okay, and then this piece of digital file will be sent it to for further enhancement. Okay, so the most important part is you have to have a monitor to produce accurate color. And how do we make sure that happens? Then it's a responsibility of this content creator that the monitor has been calibrated. Okay, so after calibration, we'll have a monitor ICC profile, and this profile should be carried on to further in the workflow process. So later on, this environment can be recreated. Okay. And the second stage, image processing and enhancement. Okay, this is where I think this is the most important part of the, I would say the most important part and most efficient part of the color management, because in this part, we can actually do a lot of stuff before we do the reproduction. Okay, so once we have the file from the image creator, okay, we will actually examine the file on the monitor. Okay, and then we can use a software like Photoshop to do what? To do soft proofing, which we'll introduce later on in today's webinar. Okay. And soft proofing, what is soft proofing? Soft proofing is the idea of simulating the image reproduction effect. Okay, for example, if you want to print this image later on, but you're not sure how it's going to look like, right? You can use this soft proofing feature, okay, to simulate that printer effect on your monitor before you print. Okay. So I think this is very important because in this way, you can save a lot of time and energy, and also save a lot of paper and ink, right? You don't need to go back and forth and like, oh, the first print, I don't like it. I didn't change the red, or I need to change the yellow, okay? And then come back to change the file, and then send it for print. And then I go, oh, now I don't like the skin tone. Okay, I need to change that, and then to send it for print again, okay? That was the old school way to do it. But nowadays, we can do it on the monitor. Okay, we can do it on monitor, we can simulate that effect, and then we can look at it to see, okay, I don't like what color. Okay, I can change that color right now, and then I can simulate the changes to see if I like it or not. And if I do like it, I can send it for one print and to see the printout if I accept it or not. And if I accept it, then that's good. If I don't accept it, I can just do some minor changes to accommodate that difference between the monitor and the print. Okay, so maybe I can reduce 10 iterations to maybe 2 iterations, which is a lot of improvement. Okay, so this is the power of the color management, especially in the soft proofing feature. Okay, so today I'm going to show you how to do it and how to do it right. Okay, and image reproduction, I use the printing, actually this is kind of like a large volume printing process as example, because Lots of you may not have the experience here. Okay, so I'm going to quickly walk through the process here. Okay, so you have your enhanced image here. Okay, and then you send it for review. Okay, the review will be probably done in the printing house. Okay, and then they will send it to the RIP software. RIP software does not stand for rest in peace. Okay, it stands for raster image processing. Okay, what this software does is actually do a lot of stuff, but the primary job is to do first is trying to send it for the proofer. That's an inkjet printer. Okay, so it will produce a hard proof for you to accept it or not. And this proof or actually is trying to simulate the final print from the large printer. Okay, large press. Okay, so that means the proof, okay, the hard proof you get is going to look very much similar to the final production press print from the printing house. Okay, and the second job is to do the separation, the CMYK separation, because your image may not be CMYK mode, maybe RGB, because like the image you probably photograph, it will be RGB. So it has to convert RGB to CMYK because all the printing press will be in plates, and plates will always be CMYK. There's no RGB. Okay, so it has to make that separation and then into a plate making and then send it for press. Okay, and then you look at the hard part of print, and then you'll be happy. Okay, so this is the whole quick review of the color management workflow. Okay. All right, so what does ICC profile like play in this color management workflow? Okay, so ICC profile either is in .ICC or .ICN. Okay, it's the key to a color management. Okay, so it actually simplifies complex transformation between devices. Okay, so what does that mean is if we want to manage devices, for example, if a laptop wants to talk to this printer, we can simply just set up a transformation between this laptop to this printer, okay? Or another transformation from this laptop to this printer here, okay? That's easy. If we only have one laptop and two printer, that's easy. But if we have, in this case, we have multiple laptops, multiple computers, and with multiple printers, then it's going to be like a messy transformation because each device needs to talk to each other. There'll be so many transformations. And the messy part is if we want to add another device into this net, okay, into this, this web here, that's going to be, or remove one, that's going to be a lot of management job. So the ICC way is going to use a two-step transformation, two-way transformation, okay? It sets up a standard color space, okay? So each device needs to know two transformation. One transformation is from the device itself, transformed to the standard color space, and then another transformation from the standard color space transfer back to itself, okay? So in this way, it will transfer, it can transfer to itself to any other device in this ecosystem, okay? So it's a simple and elegant solution. And then it's easy to add or remove a device from this ecosystem here, okay? So inside this ICC profile, okay, it has a device characteristic data. What is characteristic data? It means like for a monitor, okay, it has the, for example, how bright am I? What's my brightness? Okay, what's my color gamut? What's my white point? Okay, it has to do some introduction. Okay, let the other device know, okay, who am I? What am I look like? Okay, and it has the transformation instructions on like I said before, from the device to the standard color space, okay? And then this from the standard color space to the device, okay? So there's a two-way transformation, okay? So this is how the workflow looks like, okay? And then, so it's building all the operating system, for example, Windows, Mac, and Linux. So they all can work with ICC profiles. Okay, so an IC profile can be embedded in image files. Okay. And the IC profiles can be generated by the calibration software. Okay, so this is, you don't need to worry about how to create these IC profiles. Okay, so where's IC profile stored? Okay, so these are the files are being stored in the Windows and the Mac OS. Okay, and it has to be stored inside these two folders. And outside these folders, the IC profile will not work. It will not show in any other, for example, Photoshop. If you store the IC profile on elsewhere, it will not show in the ICC profile selection area. Okay, so it has to be stored inside this folders. Okay, so please pay attention to these directories. All right, so the last part of this webinar will be a step-by-step guide to how to do a softproofing. Okay, so but before we get started, we need to understand the softproofing limitations and what's the purpose of it. Okay, so the purpose is to use a color management monitor. Okay, for example, like BenQ SW monitor to simulate the printed appearance before printing. Okay, I need to emphasize not every monitor can do it, because if some of the monitors, they don't have large color gamut, you cannot have a good results. Okay, some of the monitor cannot be calibrated properly, or some monitors maybe they don't have enough brightness, they don't have enough calibration capability, they cannot do it. Okay, so advantage, it can save time, money, the money in terms of like paper and ink, and this, like I said before, you can save a lot of iterations. Okay, and reduce waste. Okay, this is very important. You don't throw away all these wasted paper. Okay, an area can be improved is success rate is about, like I said, it's like 85% to 90% due to different color mixing theories, because monitoring is RGB mixing and printing is CMYK mixing. The underneath mixing, color mixing series is totally different. So we cannot guarantee 100% match. Okay, but I think it's really, really great that we have this success rate right now. Okay. Okay, so before we do anything, we need to create a black and white pattern. Okay, and we can print it out from our printer, but we need to use the same ICC profile, paper type, ink set, and printer settings. Okay, so just make sure as these are keep the same as you print from your regular printing. Okay, and minimum size is like a 5 times 5 centimeter for each patch, the black and white patch. Okay, and most important part is don't print out and just measure it. Let it dry overnight. Okay, and measure it. Okay, let the ink set. Okay, that's important. Okay, so basically what we measure is the paper white and 100% black. Okay, so what we need is a calibrator. Okay, a calibrator, you can, because we're calibrating the monitor only right now, so you can use the X-Ray i1 Display Pro or i1 Pro 2. But i1 Pro 2 is more recommended because since we're using softproofing, and later on episode, we might go into how to generate our own printer profile. So that way we will use the i1 Pro 2 or i1 Pro 3, the spectral photometer. So it's better to keep consistent using the same calibrator for measuring the monitor and also the printer profile. So I'll recommend, if you have i1 Pro 2, so I'll recommend using i1 Pro 2. Okay, and the software we're using today will be X-Ray i1 Profiler. Okay, and also if we need to calibrate our monitor, then yeah, the BenQ Palamaster element PME. Okay, and we need to measure the white point. Okay, using the white pattern that we shown before. we need to measure the luminance, okay, and also the color coordinates, so we can get the what kind of color temperature we need to calibrate our monitor to, okay, and also the black point. Okay, we need to measure the black pattern on the paper, so we need to get the black luminance. Okay, so this is really important. Okay, before you calibrate your monitor, we need to warm up the monitor for 30 to 60 minutes before calibration. This is really depend on the temperature you're in. I know if it's really hot, then probably 30 minutes is enough, but it's really cold, then you need to warm up the monitor for 60 minutes, okay? And connect the USB cable because you need that for transmitting the data from your computer to your monitor. And do not use the HDMI or VGA, these stuff for calibration, okay? And connect the calibrator and use the correct software to conduct calibration. For example, if you need to calibrate your SW monitor, use PME, okay? Disable the screensaver and energy saver before calibration, because in the middle of calibration, you don't want your screensaver to kick in or energy saver to kick in to shut down your computer or your monitor. So that will cause the confusion of your calibration software, okay? And this is very important. Do not use mirroring mode for if you have 2 or more monitors, okay? Always use extended mode, okay? Or external monitor only mode, okay? If you're using 2 or more monitors, okay? All right, so when we actually, we need to connect the calibrator first and then turn on the Allen Profiler software, okay? And then what we need to do, okay? We need to, first we need to go to the Allen display calibration, okay? And that's called profiling and display, okay? And then during the white point, we select, measure, and then click on the, not the ambient, but paper e-booth, okay? But it will ask for calibrating your Allen Pro 2 device first, okay? So you calibrate it, okay? And then select paper e-booth, okay? This is important. So it will have, it will show you like this, put a piece of paper in your viewing booth or the light source you're under, okay? And then in this case, you'll put that piece of paper pattern you printed out overnight and dry it overnight. And in this case, I put in my viewing booth, but maybe in your case, you can put under your studio light or any light source you would like to do it, view your image, okay? And then you position at this, at your eyesight, align your eyesight with your, align your Allen Pro 2 with your eyesight to the paper white, okay? That's how you do it, okay? And click on the button on this Allen Pro 2 device, okay? And then you'll get a measurement result. So the luminance we get here is 252, okay? And then you get an XY color coordinate of the white point, okay? So you record these values, okay? This is important, you record these values, okay? Because later on, we're going to input this value in the PME software, okay? We're not calibrated in our profiler, we're going to calibrate in PME software, okay? And then we're going to measure the black point, but the black point needs to be very careful. We need to put our Allen Pro 2 very closely to the black point, black pattern, but not touching it. We need to have a gap about less than 0.5 centimeters. So there is some light shining on the black pattern, but not too much. Okay, so this is what we're looking for. Okay, so and after that, you click on the button on the Allen Pro 2. Okay, so you'll get a result of around 0.5. Okay, this is about right. Okay, all right. So After that, you can close the Element Profiler software, and then you open the PME software, okay? And then you input these values. These are the values that we recorded previously, okay? So the color temperature as a white point, you put XY value as 0.34 and 0.351, okay? And the luminance at 252. And the gamma, I recommend you use L-star when do the soft-proofing, okay? Don't, from my experience, L-star gives you a better result, okay? And the black point, it was 0.495, right? So we rounded up at 0.5, okay? And then you click, and you go through the calibration process, and we will have this report out, which is not too bad, okay? So the average delta is 1.41 and 2.0, okay? So this is what we get, okay? So after we calibrate our monitor, we are ready to do our soft-proofing. So we can look at some soft-proofing results. But we're looking at some scenario first, okay, what we compare. So first, we'll compare the typical calibration targets. For example, D65 as color temperature and luminance as 160 candela per square meter, and color gamut as Adobe RGB, and gamma 2.2, and the black point is absolutely black. That means a really dark black, okay? And the second scenario will be a soft-proofing calibration targets. That means the we're using the paper white and black we measured previously. And the third is scenario is the soft-proofing calibration targets with the proofing function on, okay? That we apply the, we use Photoshop, okay, to simulate the printer, paper, and ink characteristic combination, okay? So we'll see that we use the ICC profile from the printer profile, so to simulate that effect. And this is what we call soft-proofing, okay? So basically, we'll compare these three scenarios, okay? So how do we enable this soft-proofing by Photoshop? So first, we actually go to View, Proof Setup, and Custom. Okay, so it's here. Is go to View, Proof Setup, and Custom, and click on that. There will be another window coming up. Okay, so here, device to simulate, you can click on the drop down box. So you'll see lots of IC profile you created. Okay, or you can use the printer manufacturer provide the IC profile for their printer. You can use those IC profile to select the right paper and ink combination. Okay, printer, ink, and a paper combination. Okay, and then here, rendering intent. I would suggest to use the perceptual, and then don't forget to select this simulate paper color. Okay, so when you look at this image here, right here, you see it's more like display image, but here you see it's more like printed image. So this means it's being simulated as a printing effect. Okay, all right. So this is how you actually enable this soft-proofing feature in Photoshop. Okay, all right. So let's take a look at some example here. Okay, so here's a disclaimer first. This I capture with the camera the best I can, but there are still some differences between the what I see and the camera sees, because camera doesn't really correspond to what the human sees. Okay, no matter how good the camera is. Okay. All right, so I did the best I can, okay, and hopefully you can see the difference between the monitor or the similarity, okay, between the monitor and the image in the viewing booth. So please pay attention, just the image itself, okay, compare these two together, okay. So I think in this image here, the monitor is calibrated to typical calibration. That means it's D65 and it's luminance at 160. So you will find here, the monitor shows it's a little bit dark and it's more bluish than the viewing booth. Okay, so I think hopefully you can spot the difference here. Okay, so please agree that these two images are not the same. Okay, and this is the environment probably is a typical calibration targets for the we actually when we editing the images. Okay, so this is software calibration. So this is where we actually measure the paper white and the black point, and we calibrate it to the monitor. So this is what it looks like. But in real world, sorry, these two looks very similar. Okay, but on the monitor here, I mean the grays. Okay, looks very still looks very different. Okay, it just the camera doesn't see the same. Okay, all right. So, but the image here, okay, we'll still see some difference, right? We'll see some warm color here, and this is kind of cool color, right? And here, this is with the Photoshop. We turn on the soft proof feature. We apply the printer ICC profile, okay, on the this image, so we can see it's more or less identical. Okay, it's very similar. Okay, so this is a good illustration that we can have a good match between the monitor and the print. Okay, so these two, this image is printed from this file. Okay, that I'm just saying here. Okay, so here's another example. This image looks darker. Okay. And here's when we do the soft proof calibration. So this is still warmer, but here it looks a little bit more similar. Okay. All right. So the last demonstration here is I choose a magenta pinkish color here to demonstrate that the darker appearance on the monitor, and then a warmish color on the monitor here, and then we can see a similar effect on the monitors, and then which more or less agree to the prints on in the viewing booth. All right, so yeah, this is actually what we would like to demonstrate today, and I think that's pretty much what we like to showcase today right now. So thank you everyone once again for taking your time today. Is there any question? Let me see. Okay, let me probably end this right. If you have any question, you can post it in the Q&A, or I'll be happy to answer that. All right. All right, if there's no further questions, I think maybe later on when you actually take a look again at the videos, or if you have any further question, you can also send the question to Grace maybe. Yeah, and then she will direct the question to me, and then I'll help them to answer your question later on. All right, so thank you very much to everyone once again for taking your time out to join us. The session will also recorded and will be available tomorrow. And Grace will be sending out an email with all the details on where you can rewatch the session again once the recording has been completed. If your question were not answered, well, there's no question today, but then we'll feel free to contact us from our live chat function from our website, or through the email with the recording details, and we will endeavor to provide a response to you as early as possible. So don't forget to help us fill out the quick survey, and see you next time. All right, bye-bye.